Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video and another step in our Linux journey. And by now, guys, you should be pretty much all caught up with our package manager series. Especially we've been learning about how to install packages, remove packages. And I think in a couple of other videos, I showed you guys some really cool ways in order to be able to use what is called group install to install a group of packages. And specifically in our last video, we talked about how to install our GUI packages and remove them. So it's kind of cool of how I showed you all that. But in this particular video, I'm going to go ahead and put a nice bow on this package management. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the final touches when it comes to adding repositories, removing repositories, and also as well, how do you go about adding some of these extra repositories that are nice to have that can augment your experience but are not always included. So we'll touch on that in this video. So before we get into it, guys, I want to make sure that I say this, and I say this in every video. Make sure you go ahead and watch my previous videos because we build on previous concepts and ideas. So I don't want you to get lost. So if this is your first time finding me, welcome. I appreciate having you here, but I also don't want you to get lost. So in the description will be a link to our playlist. So go ahead and watch that playlist and make sure you're caught up so that way you come up to this video and that way you don't get lost, of course. Now for my returning subscribers, again, also as well, welcome back. And we're going to continue this journey together. And as always, guys, if you guys love this content and it's helping you out, go ahead and give me a like for the video as it helps the channel grow. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications so that way you're notified when I upload new videos to the channel. And of course, lastly, but not least, share this with a family member or friend who's also interested in learning about tech, or maybe they're in the field already and they just need to augment their skills. All right, guys, so with housekeeping stuff out of the way, let's jump to our desktop that we have here. And as you guys are seeing, we have our RHEL 8 machine. Now, again, as I mentioned, we're going to be adding some repositories. Not only are we going to add some repositories, we're going to install some really cool applications. So that way you can see that they're specifically only in certain repositories. And if you don't have them on, you'll never find them. And again, it's meant to augment our experience when using RHEL. First item on the list is let's go ahead and take a look at what repositories we have enabled for our RHEL 8 box that we have here. So with the terminal up, and you should know how to bring up your terminal by now, but with the terminal up, if we were to do a sudo DNF repo list, and let's add a all to that, and it will basically print out a list of all the repositories that are available for us. And the interesting thing is that you can actually see that it tells you which ones are disabled and which ones are enabled. Oh, and it looks like I scrolled past a few of them that were enabled. So for example, we have Azure CLI that's enabled. If I scroll down here, we have AppStream is enabled, BaseOS RPM is enabled. Now, an interesting and cool way that we can, instead of scrolling up and down, see what we have enabled, I can just take a look at the previous command and we can pipe that into what is called a grep, and we can search for enabled. And there you have it. We have 3 that are enabled and the rest of them are disabled. And by the way, how do we know how many we have disabled? I showed you guys this in the past with cool tricks. So if we were to do the same command before, sudo DNF repo list all, let's pipe that into a word count and count the lines. We should see how many total repositories we have available, which is 807. And of those 807, we have only 3 enabled, which is Azure. Is it Azure or Azure? I don't know, guys. Let me know in the comments below. I've always wondered that. But anyways, Azure CLI. Then we also have AppStreams and we have BaseOS. All right, cool. So those are my 3 that are enabled. Now here's the interesting thing, guys. There is a command that we've been using for quite some time now. And in fact, actually, let me show you what I'm referring to as far as command. So if we were to take a look at what's inside of, let's take a look at Lewis_findings. So if I were to do cat, which is a command that I've shown you guys for quite some time now, but if you were to do cat Lewis_findings, you can see here that it gives me, I guess, a list of different items. And this, I believe, is very, very old by now, which is kind of funny. But anyways, the point is that we've been using this cat in order to basically look inside of our files output it to the terminal. Now, not only have we been looking at cat for quite some time, and as you see here, it basically took the contents, put it on the screen or the terminal, but there's another actual program that is a little bit better in my opinion because it does what cat does, but also augments it by giving you some extra features such as syntax highlighting and a few other things. And that program is called BAT, and that is B-A-T, right? BAT instead of cat. Now, the thing is though, if I were to do a which BAT, of course, it's not really located on my machine. I don't have it installed. So we're going to have to install BAT in order to see what the differences are, so that way you can see how cool it is and all the extra features that you get. But before we do that, of course, BAT is located in a repository that I don't have available. And as you see here, we have Azure, AppStream, and BaseOS. And the next question is, well, where is BAT located? And BAT is located in a repository called EPEL. And I'll spell it out over here for you. So E-P-E-L, it's called EPEL. Now, if you're wondering what does EPEL even mean, so EPEL stands for Extra Packages for Enterprise Linux. There you go. I copied it into the command line for you so that way you can see. But EPEL stands for, again, Extra Packages for Enterprise Linux. They got a lot of really cool packages in there that will augment your experience that you normally don't get with AppStream or BaseOS. And those are your main package repositories that come with Red Hat Enterprise Linux as soon as you, of course, register the machine, but that's a whole nother topic. So now the question is, well, how do we install this repository on our RHEL 8 machine so that way we can see it and be able to work with it? So let me go ahead and clear this out. So in order to go ahead and work with the EPEL repository, we're going to do sudo subscription manager repos -- enable, and then we're going to do CodeReady Builder for RHEL 8, then $, open parentheses, arc, close parentheses, -RPMs. Let's go ahead and hit enter here. All right, cool. So as you see here, it tells us that the repository is now enabled for the system. So the next thing that we can do on the list is sudo dnf install, and we're going to point it to now to the EPEL repository. And it's actually a particular URL in order to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that URL in here. So as you can see here, it is pointing to the Fedora project. I'm not going to read that entire thing out, but take a second and pause if you're doing this with me, and you can go ahead and copy and paste that URL in there. And then of course, we're going to do a -y for yes. So that way it doesn't ask us whether we want to install this repository. So let's go ahead and run this command. All right, great. And just like that, our EPEL repository has been installed. So now if I were to do a sudo dnf repo list, and this time instead of doing all, let's just leave it at repo list just to see what we have. And you can see here that we have Azure CLI, we have our CodeReady repository, we have EPEL, which was the main one we were concerned with, and then of course AppStream and BaseOS. Now, if you guys want to do it the way that I did it before, where you do all, and then we pipe it into a grep and look for enabled, you can do that as well, and you should get the same results. And there we go, same results, CLI, CodeReady, EPEL, AppStream, BaseOS, right? Pretty cool how you can run another command and get the same response. In fact, actually, I hear this all the time. There's multiple ways to skin a cat when it comes to Linux. So now that the repository is enabled, and the one that I'm referring to is EPEL that has the bat command, let's go ahead and do a sudo dnf install bat -y for yes. And in fact, actually, let me take the -y out because I want you to see exact output, and then afterwards we're going to hit yes. I want you to see exactly where that bat command is coming from. So here we are, guys. As you can see, here's the bat command, our architecture, x86-64, but more importantly, as I was telling you, you have your repository, and the repository is EPEL. And we could not have found this package without ensuring that EPEL was enabled on our machine. So let's go ahead and hit Y for yes in order to install. And then after it's done installing, we'll go ahead and showcase the difference between the two. And of course, it was very quick in order to install. And if I were to do a which bat again, you can see that I now have that package installed on my machine. So if we were to take a look now and take a look at our files that are here, let's go inside our hello world C directory. And you can see that you have your hello world.h.c and main.c. So let's go and take a look by using cat on main.c, and you can see exactly what is shown there. Now, if I were to do bat instead of cat now, let's take a look at the difference. Look how awesome is that? You actually get the same things, right? You can see the same stuff, which is the file name. You get to see the include, you get to see the code that I wrote before, and this was something that I wrote a long time ago. But what's really cool is that it recognized that it's a C file. It gave you the line numbers, and it also gave you the syntax highlighting, which is something that you find a lot of times in text editors or IDEs, so integrated development environments. That's one of the features that is included with BAT. And again, I'm referring to syntax highlighting. That is one of the features that is included over cat. So it's really, really cool how you can take some of these features or some of these packages to make your life that much more simpler, instead of relying on some of these packages that, while they're great in their own respects, they still don't have a lot of the capabilities of some of these newer ones that make, of course, life easier. And that is a great example of how you can leverage and put on these repositories to find some additional packages that will make your life easier. Now, how do we go ahead and get rid of this repository? Let's say we don't even want to go down this path. Again, I always like to show you how to do it and then how to undo in a sense. So let's go ahead and do sudo dnf remove, and let's go ahead and remove the bat package. Of course, let's say we don't want to use it anymore, but we can go ahead and do that. That's all taken care of. So at this point now, we can go ahead and remove our EPEL repository because we no longer want it in our machine. So it's as simple as doing sudo dnf remove EPEL release. And I just did a tab completion, and tab completion actually tells me the actual release number that we have, which is 822. So let's go ahead and hit a -y for yes. And just like that, it actually removed our EPEL repository. And you can do a sudo dnf repo list now, and EPEL should no longer be there. And what do you know? EPEL is no longer there. Now I'm curious, how do you remove this CodeReady Builder? You guys let me know in the comments below, but I guarantee you it is very similar to this command over here, which is sudo dnf remove, followed by the repository name, and then you guessed it, you can give it a -y. All right, guys, and just like that, we put a nice bow on this whole thing called package management. How do you go ahead and install packages, remove them, work with repositories? I mean, over the last couple of videos, you have certainly learned a lot. Now keep practicing, because of course, practice makes perfect. And of course, if you have any questions on what you've learned, you can always leave me a question in the comments below. But anyways, guys, that'll do it for this video. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you enjoyed. And if you guys love my content and want to see more of it, go ahead and give me a like for the video, as it helps the channel grow. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications so you're notified when I upload new videos to the channel. And lastly, of course, share this with a family member or friend. And by the way, guys, 2 things before I let you go. If you guys want to talk tech with me at all, there'll be links in the description, so that way you can go ahead and book time on my calendar. And of course, lastly, if you don't want to wait for my next video, YouTube thinks that you'll like this video popping up on screen. So go ahead and give that a watch, and I'll see everybody in the next one.